Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well today. Today, we're going to do some story time with Mr. Michael. I know, you're probably wondering, why am I talking so quietly? What's the big secret? Well, it's no secret, but today, we're going to be reading a book about being quiet. Today, we're going to be reading The Sound of Silence by Katrina Goldsaito and illustrated by Julia Kuo. So, this book was written and illustrated by these two wonderful women. Now, this book takes place in Japan. Now, Ms. Goldsaito and Ms. Kuo both live in America, but their families are from Japan. And this book takes place in a city in Japan called Tokyo. Have you ever been to Tokyo? Maybe you live in Tokyo right now. I've never been to Tokyo, and I bet it'd be an amazing place to be. In fact, according to this book, it's a wonderful place to go to. So why don't we open it up and find out what's inside The Sound of Silence? The Sound of Silence by Katrina Goldsaito. Art by Julia Kuo. Little Yoshio wiggled with anticipation. 3, 2, 1. He threw open the front door. The sounds of the city swirled all around him. Tokyo was like a symphony hall. Yoshio listened to the sound of his boots squishing and squashing through the puddles and the tiny raindrops pattering on his umbrella. The sound of his giddy giggles made him giggle more. Suddenly, Yoshio heard the strangest sound. High and then low, squeaky and then vibrating. Amazing! It was a koto player, carefully tuning her instrument. Then, the koto player played. The notes were twangy and twinkling. They tickled Yoshio's ears. When the song finished, Yoshio said, "Sensei, I love sounds, but I have never heard a sound like that before." The koto player laughed, and it sounded like the metal bell that swayed in the wind in Mama's garden. "Sensei," Yoshio said, "do you have a favorite sound?" "The most beautiful sound," the koto player said, "is the sound of of silence." "Silence?" Yoshio asked. But the koto player just smiled a mysterious smile and went back to playing. Yoshio bowed to the koto player and ran to school. Where can I find silence? Yoshio wondered as he listened to the thwack of his boots on the pavement. He listened for it through the school day, but there was always some kid making noise. At recess, the sun came out, and Yoshio went to the quietest place he knew, the bamboo grove at the edge of the playground. But even there, the bamboo made a taka, taka, taka sound as the wind banged its stalks together. He closed his eyes and heard the swish, swish, swish of the wind making the leaves talk. It was beautiful, but it wasn't silence. Walking home from school, Yoshio listened hard. He could hear the horns of buses and the whoosh of bullet trains and the beep, beep, beep of the traffic lights, but no silence. Yoshio knew so many different sounds, loud and soft, sudden and soothing, but silence? Where was silence? It wasn't in the dining room, where there was always the sound of chopsticks and slurping and chewing and swallowing. What a noisy family. Silence wasn't in the bath, where even his toes made noise and the little droplets of water kept dripping off his nose. Drip, drip, drip. That night, Yoshio tried to stay up late to catch the silence while his family slept. But his eyes got heavy and then heavier, and soon the sound of a distant radio became part of his dreams. The next morning, Yoshio woke up to his neighbor's dog barking and oh no, he had missed the silence. Yoshio walked to school early. His sisters whizzed by on their way to the park, screeching Yoshio's name. Where was silence? Yoshio heard the creak of the school gates as he pulled them open. No one was at school yet. He put on his inside shoes and listened as they shuffled on the shiny floor. The classroom felt different without anyone in it. He sat at his desk by the window and pulled out a book. He loved this story, and as he read, he forgot where he was. Suddenly, in the middle of a page, he heard it. No sounds of footsteps, no people chattering, no radios, no bamboo, no kotos being tuned. In that short moment, Yoshio couldn't even hear the sound of his own breath. Everything felt still inside of him, peaceful like the garden after it snowed, like feather-stuffed futons drying in the sun. Silence had been there all along. It had been there between the thumps of his boots when he ran, when the wind stopped for just a moment in the bamboo grove, at the end of his family's meal, when everyone was happy and full, after the water finished draining from his bath, before the koto's music began, and hovering in the air right after it ended. It was between and underneath every sound, and it had been there all along. Ma. Silence. The end. Now, that's the end of this story about Yoshio. But the author has written a little bit more for us. So there's a little picture here, and I want to show it to you. And there's a little picture here, and I want to show it to you. But the author's written something called an afterword. And sometimes, after the story part of a book ends, the author wants to tell us a little more about the story. So, this is what we've got today. Ms. Goldsaito has written a little bit more for us. Let's see what she wants us to learn. Afterword. The Japanese concept of ma is silence between sounds. It's the moment when musicians pause together and is at the heart of traditional Japanese music, dance, tea ceremony, flower arrangement, storytelling, and even conversation. Ma is a silence loved by contemporary Japanese composer Toru Takemitsu. He was well known for his compositions for film greats such as Akira Kurosawa and Masaki Kobayashi. He says that without silence, sound would be meaningless. That's pretty cool, isn't it? What an interesting thing to think about. If we couldn't think about silence, why would sound have any meaning whatsoever? In the end, Ms. Goldsaito writes, the concept of ma is what Yoshio searches for and eventually finds. And ma is the silence that you too can find in the spaces between sounds. What a beautiful thing to think about. I'm so very happy we got to read this beautiful book together. Maybe you want to watch the video again, but this time turn the sound all the way down and just listen to the silence and look at these beautiful pictures. I bet Julia Kuo would think that's a great idea since she made all these amazing pictures that are inside this book. What's your favorite kind of sound? Do you love the sound of music? Do you love the sound of boots stepping on ice? Do you love the sound of water trickling down a waterfall? I would love to find out what your favorite sounds are. Maybe, just like Yoshio, you're gonna learn that you love the sound of silence, or ma, as they say in Japan. Maybe you've also got a favorite book. Maybe I'll get to read it, but I won't know what it is unless you write it down in the comments below. So do that for me. Let me know what your favorite book is. I wanna read it. I wanna read all the great books. I wanna read everybody's favorite book here on Storytime with Mr. Michael. So come back next time, and who knows what I'll be reading then. Bye.